Most people live their entire lives as prisoners of other people's opinions. They wake up thinking about what others expect from them. They make decisions based on fear of judgment, and they hold back their true thoughts and desires because they are terrified of being disliked. And the worst part, they think this is normal. They think this is just how life is supposed to be. But what if this entire way of living is a trap? What if caring too much about what others think is the very thing that is destroying your happiness, your freedom, and your potential? Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest philosophers in history, saw this problem over 2,000 years ago. He understood that the mind is a battlefield, that the opinions of others are like chains wrapped around our thoughts, keeping us from living as we truly are. He warned that the more you care about what others think, the more power you give them over your life. And yet, here we are, in a world where people are more obsessed with approval than ever before. Social media has turned life into a constant performance. Every action, every word, every decision is filtered through the question, what will people think? And the result? A generation of people who are terrified of being real, who would rather be liked than be free, who would rather be accepted than be themselves. But let's break this illusion right now. Caring too much is the fastest way to waste your life. Because the truth is, no matter what you do, people will judge you. No matter how hard you try, someone will disagree with you. No matter how much you seek approval, you will never fully get it. And even if you somehow did, what then? You would have spent your entire life living for others, shaping yourself into something that pleases them, only to realize in the end that none of it truly mattered. Because when you are lying on your deathbed, the opinions of others will not comfort you. The approval you chased will not bring you peace. The only thing that will matter is whether you lived on your terms, whether you followed your own path, whether you had the courage to be who you truly are. And that is exactly what Marcus Aurelius understood. He knew that a person who is trapped by the opinions of others is not truly living. That freedom begins the moment you stop caring about things that do not matter. And the opinions of others? They do not matter. They are fleeting, inconsistent, and often meaningless. Most people do not even know what they truly think, yet we let their shallow judgments dictate our lives. But here is the real question: if you stopped caring, if you truly lived as yourself, what would change? Would you finally chase the dreams you have been too afraid to pursue? Would you speak your mind without hesitation? Would you make bold decisions without fear of what others will say? And if the answer is yes, then why are you still holding yourself back?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Most people spend their entire lives trapped inside an invisible cage, a cage built from thoughts that do not even belong to them. They wake up, go through their daily routines, and make every decision with one thing in mind: what will people think? But here's the truth that most will never realize: other people's opinions are not as real as you think they are. They are not fixed. They are not absolute. They are not even about you most of the time. They are projections, fragments of other people's insecurities, their biases, their fears, their limited experiences. And yet we let these fragile, ever-changing thoughts dictate our lives. But let's break this illusion right now. Imagine you are standing in a crowded street, wearing something ridiculous, doing something unusual, Your first instinct is to feel embarrassed, to assume that everyone is watching, that everyone is judging. But if you could step inside their minds, you would realize something shocking: most people are not thinking about you at all. They are too busy worrying about their own lives, their own problems, their own insecurities. And the ones who do judge you, their thoughts are fleeting. They will forget about you in minutes. And yet we live as if their passing opinions are carved in stone, as if their judgments define us, as if their approval is the key to our happiness. But let's say someone truly dislikes you. Let's say they criticize you, mock you, reject you. What then? Does their opinion change your reality? Does their dislike alter who you are? Of course not. Their thoughts remain trapped inside their own mind, affecting only the person who holds them. The only way their opinion has power is if you give it power. And that is where most people make the mistake that ruins their entire lives. They allow themselves to be controlled by things that do not actually control them. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. He knew that the opinions of others are nothing more than noise, that they have no power unless you let them in. He reminded himself daily that the judgments of others are irrelevant to his purpose, that what truly matters is how he chooses to live, how he chooses to think, how he chooses to act. And this is where true freedom begins: the moment you realize that other people's opinions are not your responsibility, that their judgments do not define you, that their approval is not worth chasing. Because the minute you stop caring, the minute you stop letting their thoughts dictate your choices, you become unstoppable. You speak without hesitation. You act without fear. You live without limits. And that is the difference between those who truly live and those who merely exist. The most dangerous prison is not made of walls and bars. It is made of thoughts. It is built inside your mind, reinforced by fears that were never truly yours to begin with. And the strongest of these fears? A fear of judgment, the fear of standing out, the fear of being disliked. This fear is so deeply wired into people that they do not even notice how much control it has over them. It dictates what they say, what they do, what they wear, how they think, who they become. It forces them into a life of silent obedience, of careful conformity, of playing it safe just to avoid criticism. But here's the truth: if you live to avoid judgment, you are already trapped. Because no matter how much you try to please people, no matter how carefully you craft your words, no matter how much you hide your true self, someone, somewhere, will still judge you. Someone will still disapprove. Someone will still misunderstand you. And if you let that stop you, you will never do anything meaningful with your life. Look at history. Look at the greatest thinkers, the boldest leaders, the most revolutionary minds. Every single one of them was criticized, ridiculed, attacked. Socrates was sentenced to death for questioning the status quo. Galileo was condemned for challenging false beliefs. Every great artist, every visionary, every person who ever did something extraordinary was met with resistance. Because the world does not reward those who simply fit in, it rewards those who have the courage to stand alone. But most people never reach this realization. They let the fear of judgment keep them small. They silence their opinions to avoid conflict. They hold back their ideas to avoid rejection. They shrink themselves down, hoping to be accepted, never realizing that in the process they are giving up their power. And this is exactly what Marcus Aurelius warned against. He understood that caring too much about what others think is the fastest way to destroy your potential. That if you let the opinions of others dictate your choices, you are living their life, not yours. That if you spend your time worrying about approval, you will never have time to build something truly great. Because greatness requires risk. It requires standing out. It requires doing things that others might not understand. And if you are waiting for universal approval before you take action, you will be waiting forever. The harsh reality is this: most people live as prisoners of their own minds. They die full of regret, never having expressed their true thoughts, never having pursued their true dreams, never having lived as they truly were. And all because they were afraid of judgment. But imagine this: imagine living without that fear. Imagine speaking your mind without hesitation. Imagine making bold moves without worrying about what others will say. Imagine living fully, unapologetically, as yourself. That is what true freedom looks like. And it is only possible when you stop caring about things that do not matter. People waste years chasing something that does not even exist in a stable form of approval. They think that if they can just say the right things, do what is expected, follow the rules, and avoid conflict, they will finally earn the acceptance they crave. But here's the truth that most never realize. Even if you dedicate your entire life to pleasing others, it will never be enough. Because people's opinions are inconsistent. Their approval is conditional. Their standards shift based on their own emotions, experiences, and biases. What one person admires, another person despises. What one group celebrates, another condemns. And if you attach your self-worth to their approval, you will spend your entire life chasing a moving target, never feeling truly secure, never feeling truly free. Look at social media, a constant battle for validation. People curate their lives, filter their realities, carefully construct their words just to be liked, shared, and followed. And yet, the more they chase approval, the emptier they feel. Because deep down, they know that none of it is real. That the same crowd that praises them today can turn against them tomorrow. That the validation they worked so hard for does not actually fulfill them. And that is the most dangerous trap, believing that external approval can replace internal self-respect. Marcus Aurelius understood this long before social media existed. He knew that true confidence does not come from being liked, it comes from knowing that you do not need to be. He reminded himself constantly that the opinions of others are outside his control and therefore irrelevant to his inner peace. That the only approval that truly matters is his own. And this is where most people get it wrong. They believe that if they could just win everyone over, if they could just be universally liked, they would finally feel secure. But security does not come from approval, it comes from detachment. From realizing that you do not need anyone's permission to be who you are. That you do not need validation to pursue what matters to you. That you do not need external praise to know your own worth. Think about it. How many things have you avoided doing because you were afraid of being judged? How many times have you silenced yourself just to fit in? How much of your life has been dictated by the fear of disapproval? And now, Imagine what would happen if you stopped caring. If you spoke your truth without hesitation. If you made decisions based on what you truly wanted, not what others expected. If you lived as if no one's opinion had power over you. That is real freedom. And the irony is, the moment you stop chasing approval, the more respect you actually gain. Because people may not always agree with you, but they will admire your confidence. They may not always like you, but they will recognize your strength. And even if they don't, it won't matter because you will have already freed yourself from the need for their validation. Every second that you spend worrying about what others think is a second that you are not living your own life. Every decision you make based on fear of judgment is a decision that takes you further away from who you truly are. And the worst part, most people do not even realize this is happening. They think they are making rational choices, that they are being realistic, that they are just doing what is expected. But what is actually happening is that they are enslaved to opinions that are constantly shifting, to expectations that were never theirs to begin with, into a system that rewards conformity and punishes authenticity. And the result, a life that is not truly lived. A life of hesitation, of missed opportunities, of silent regrets. Look at the people who are the most free, the most successful, the most fulfilled. Are they the ones who constantly seek approval? Are they the ones who hold back their thoughts, who avoid risks, who stay inside the lines just to avoid criticism? No, they are the ones who have decided that their time is too valuable to waste on things that do not matter. They are the ones who have accepted that no matter what they do, someone will always disapprove, and that this is irrelevant to whether they succeed or not. Marcus Aurelius understood this more than anyone. He ruled an empire, yet he knew that no amount of power could make people stop judging, stop complaining, stop misunderstanding. He knew that trying to please everyone was a losing game, that even the greatest people in history were criticized, hated, attacked. And if even the best among us could not escape judgment, why would you waste your time trying to? The truth is, the fear of what others think is the single greatest killer of potential. It stops people from speaking up when they have something to say. It stops people from taking action when they have an idea that could change everything. It stops people from living fully, freely, without hesitation. And the irony? Most of the people you are afraid of being judged by are too focused on their own insecurities to even care about you. They are worrying about their own lives, their own mistakes, their own fears. And yet you let their imaginary opinions dictate your reality. How many dreams have died because someone was too afraid of looking foolish? How many relationships were never pursued because someone was too afraid of rejection? How many ideas were never shared because someone was too afraid of criticism? And now, think about how different your life would be if you simply stopped caring. If you acted without fear. If you spoke without hesitation. If you made decisions based on what truly mattered to you, not on what would make others approve. That is where real life begins. That is where real success happens. That is where real freedom is found. And the only thing standing between you and that reality is the illusion that other people's opinions have power over you. They don't. They never did. And the moment you stop giving them power, you take your life back. Most people go through life like actors in a play they did not write, performing for an audience that does not even care. They shape their personalities to fit expectations, adjust their words to avoid disapproval, and suppress their real thoughts just to maintain an illusion of acceptance. They convince themselves that this is the smart thing to do, that this is how the world works, that avoiding conflict is the path to success. But what they don't realize is that by doing this, they are slowly killing their own identity. They are turning into a version of themselves that is designed to be liked rather than to be real. And once you start living for approval, you can never stop. Because the moment you give power to other people's opinions, you become their prisoner. You start making choices based on what will get the least criticism rather than what is actually right for you. You start limiting yourself, playing it safe, staying small, because standing out always comes with judgment. But here's the truth. No matter how much you try, you will never make everyone happy. Say one thing, and someone will disagree. Do one thing, and someone will criticize. Succeed, and people will envy you. Fail, and people will mock you. There is no path that leads to universal approval. And the ones who waste their lives chasing it are the ones who never truly live. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He ruled over millions of people, yet he knew that no leader, no philosopher, no person in history had ever been able to avoid criticism. He reminded himself constantly that the words of others were just noise, that the judgments of the crowd were meaningless, that the only thing that mattered was whether he was living in alignment with reason and virtue. And this is where most people fail, because they believe that criticism means they are doing something wrong. But in reality, criticism is often a sign that you are doing something right. The people who never get judged are the ones who never take risks. The ones who never get criticized are the ones who never stand for anything. The ones who never get hated are the ones who never do anything meaningful. Look at history. The greatest minds, the most influential figures, the ones who changed the world, every single one of them faced resistance. Every single one of them was doubted, attacked, ridiculed. And yet, they did not stop, because they understood something that most people never learn. If you live for approval, you will die without ever having lived at all. The harsh truth is, most people are so afraid of being disliked that they willingly trade their authenticity for acceptance. They silence themselves when they should speak up. They hesitate when they should take action. They conform when they should stand apart. And at the end of their lives, they realize the truth too late, that the opinions they feared so much were never worth fearing at all. Think about it. The people you were afraid of being judged by 5 years ago, do they even matter now? The opinions that stopped you from taking risks in the past, do they have any impact on your present? And if not, why are you still letting new opinions control your future? The biggest illusion in life is that external validation leads to fulfillment. It doesn't. The people who live the richest, most meaningful lives are not the ones who are the most liked, they are the ones who are the most free. Free from the need to explain themselves. Free from the need to be understood. Free from the need to have everyone agree with them. And that kind of freedom is not given, it is taken. It is claimed the moment you decide that your own judgment matters more than the opinions of the crowd. That your own approval is enough. that your life is too short to waste on things that do not matter. And the truth is, once you stop seeking approval, everything changes. You start making decisions based on what is actually right for you, not based on what will cause the least resistance. You start speaking your mind without filtering yourself to avoid conflict. You start living as if no one is watching, no one is judging, no one has the power to make you feel small. And that is the paradox. When you stop trying to be liked, you become more respected. When you stop craving approval, you become more powerful. When you stop fearing judgment, you become unstoppable. And the only thing standing between you and that freedom is the illusion that you need other people's permission to be yourself. You don't, and you never did. Most people think they are making their own choices, but they are not. They think they are in control of their lives, but they are not. They wake up, go through their routines, interact with people, make decisions, but every single thought, every single action is filtered through one invisible question. But what will they think? This question is so deeply embedded in their minds that they do not even notice it. It controls what they wear, how they speak, what they post online, what dreams they pursue, what risks they take, what truths they suppress. It dictates the way they present themselves, shaping them into a version that is designed to be accepted rather than a version that is real. And because this fear operates in the background, most people never stop to challenge it. They do not realize how much of their potential is being suffocated. They do not see how many opportunities they are avoiding, how many experiences they are missing, how many years they are wasting just to avoid the discomfort of disapproval. But here's the truth. The fear of judgment is nothing more than a trick of the mind. It is an illusion that only has power if you believe in it. Because in reality, most people are too consumed with their own lives to care about yours. They are too busy worrying about their own problems, their own insecurities, their own fears. And the few who do judge you, their opinions are meaningless. They will forget about you within days, if not hours. And even if they don't, so what? Does their judgment change your reality? Does their disapproval take away your ability to act, to create, to succeed? No. The only way their opinions can harm you is if you let them. And this is what Marcus Aurelius understood. He knew that the judgments of others were nothing more than noise, that they were external distractions that had no real impact on his ability to live as he chose. He reminded himself constantly that the approval of the crowd was fickle, that praise and criticism were equally empty, that the only thing that truly mattered was whether he was living in alignment with his own principles. And yet here we are, centuries later, still trapped by the same illusion, still acting as if the opinions of others are chains we cannot break. But think about this. How many times have you held back from doing something you truly wanted to do, just because you were afraid of what people might think? How many times have you sacrificed your own happiness, your own dreams, your own freedom, just to maintain the approval of people who do not even matter? And now, imagine living without that fear. Imagine making decisions purely based on what excites you, what fulfills you, what challenges you, not based on what will get the least criticism. Imagine speaking your truth without hesitation, taking risks without overanalyzing, living as if no one's opinion had power over you. That is what real confidence looks like. That is what real freedom feels like. And the irony is, The moment you stop caring about being liked, the more people actually respect you. Because people are drawn to those who are unapologetic. They admire those who are fearless. They may not always agree with you, but they will recognize your strength. And those who do not, they were never worth impressing in the first place. The world does not need more people who are controlled by fear. It does not need more voices that are filtered, more lives that are wasted on meaningless approval. It needs people who are willing to be bold, to take risks, to stand alone if necessary. It needs people who refuse to let external validation dictate their self-worth. And that choice is yours to make right now, in this moment. You can continue to live in fear, to shrink yourself down, to play it safe just to avoid criticism. Or you can decide that your time is too valuable, your potential is too great, your life is too short to waste on things that do not matter. And once you make that decision, everything changes. You stop hesitating. You stop apologizing for being yourself. You stop needing permission to live as you truly are. And the moment you do, that you become unstoppable.